Well everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the Samsung Galaxy S24 FE and compare it against the iPhone 15 and see which particular phone is a better one for you. Now, the thing I can definitely tell you about both these types of devices is that number one, you genuinely can't really go wrong with either one, right? I think both these devices are very, very good. And if you're going to go through and pick up really either one of these devices, I think they're fairly solid options. But I do think the very big thing to keep in mind here is that if you are going to go and pick up a device, you can use the links down in the description. We can go ahead and get them from there, and you can actually help support the channel at the exact same time. Now, starting off with the outside of both these particular iPhones, the iPhone 15, which came out back last year in 2023, on the front of this particular phone is giving you a 6.1-inch Super Retina XDR OLED display, and it's a pretty good looking panel. Right? Like, I like this panel a lot. It's a basic panel when it kind of comes down to it, but it's a good enough panel for the most part. And I do think if you're going to go through and pick up a device, this type of panel still looks pretty good for the most part. You're getting that dynamic island at the very top. You're getting pretty thin bezels around it. There isn't really anything with this type of device that I look at and I'm like super happy about, to be honest. Like, it's just a basic type of panel, but it gets the job done. And I guess that's a pretty big thing to keep in mind within this type of device. Now, with the Samsung Galaxy S24 FE, this is a significantly better panel in a lot of ways. So number one, it is a 6.7-inch dynamic AMOLED display. So this is kind of a big thing to keep in mind here. This panel is significantly, bigger, but it's also, better in some ways. It's 1900 nits of brightness, so not as bright as the iPhone 15s, but it does give you a 120 Hz display. And I do think this in and of itself is a very big thing to keep in mind with this type of panel. With the iPhone, 15, it's 60 Hz. With the Galaxy S24 FE, it's 120 Hz. So I do think this is a very big thing to keep in mind. And if you're going to go through and pick up a phone, I do like having a phone like the Galaxy S24 FE that's going to be a 120 Hz panel. So without a doubt, that is a really big thing to keep in mind within this type of panel. On top of that, you're both getting kind of like flat sides on both these types of phones, which is nice to have. I love having flat sides on these types of devices. You're also getting USB Type-C on the bottom of both of them, which again is a very nice thing to have. You're getting the, basically the standard type of button layout, volume button, power button, no other buttons really that we know of. On the back side, this is where things start getting a little interesting. The Galaxy S24 FE, this is a standard glass back on the back of this phone. With the iPhone 15, this is a frosted glass back. And I love having frosted glass backs. I do think that is the overall better back styling than something like the Galaxy S24 FE. So if you are going to go through and pick up a device, that is a very big thing to keep in mind there as well. So personally for me, I think if you're going to go through and pick up a device, this is a very big thing to keep in mind here. So, and that right there, I think is another very big thing to keep in mind there as well. Now, I think beyond that, there are some pretty big features with the Galaxy S24 FE that you kind of have to keep in mind. So number one, you are getting reverse wireless charging inside of the Galaxy S24 FE, which is really cool. The iPhone 15 is giving you reverse wired charging, but not reverse wireless charging. You're getting IP certification on both. You're getting a lot of similar capability on both for the most part as well. But I do think for the most part, if you are going to go through and pick up a device, definitely something like the iPhone 15 feels better in the hand, but the Galaxy S24 FE has more flagship features. From a price tag standpoint, the iPhone 15 actually in the used market probably costs cheaper than something like the Galaxy S24 FE. So if you're looking at these types of phones from a used market perspective, the S24 FE is brand new, but once it comes down in the price tag for a little bit, then you'll notice that it's a little bit cheaper. But I would probably say for the everyday average person, the iPhone 15 might actually end up being a better used priced iPhone in some ways than the S24 FE. So that right there is another very big thing to keep in mind there as well. Now on top of that, when it comes down to the cameras, the iPhone 15 is giving you a dual camera setup on the backside, a wide and an ultra wide camera, where the Galaxy S24 FE is giving you a triple camera setup, a wide, telephoto, and ultra wide camera. Now they both can do 4K at 60 on the front and the back, but the Galaxy S24 FE can actually do 8K capability on the back of that phone. And this is a very big thing to keep in mind here. If you're able to go through and pick up a phone, having a phone like the Samsung Galaxy S24 FE that can give you that 8K capability is a really cool thing. It is a really nice feature to have. And I really do think if you're going to go through and pick up a phone, that is a really big advantage. I think with something like the iPhone 15, this camera is still good and the quality of this lens is still very high. I really like having a phone like that that's going to be giving you some really good capability. And I do think that's a very nice thing to have. I think with something like the Samsung Galaxy S24 FE, This camera has more features built inside, and it's probably the more optimal camera when it comes down to it. But I do think like if you're looking at these types of lenses side by side, the iPhone 15 is probably going to be the one that might be better in some social media applications and different things like that. But I would probably say for the everyday average person, the Samsung Galaxy S24 FE might be the better one. I'd probably say from like a feature-wise perspective. So from that side, that kind of covers it up there as well. On top of those things, another very big thing to keep in mind here too is that the Samsung Galaxy S24 FE and the iPhone 15 are both basically still supported with software. So that is a very nice thing going on here. So both these phones are still going to be supported with software. They're really not going anywhere anytime soon as far as we can tell right now. So if you are wanting the phone that's going to be a longer lasting phone, both these are still supported with software. I would probably say that with something like the Samsung Galaxy S24 FE, that phone might end up being one of those devices that does last fairly long too, but I would probably err to the side of the iPhone 15 probably lasting a little bit longer. Maybe not by much, but still just by a little bit. From a battery life perspective, this is probably one of the biggest advantages of buying something like a Samsung, the S24 FE. This phone is giving you a 4700 mAh battery inside of it, where the iPhone 15 is giving you a 3349 mAh battery. So that right there is another very big advantage of a phone like that. Like getting a phone like the Galaxy, S24 FE, that's going to be giving you that size battery is going to be very, very awesome. And like I said before, that's a very big thing to keep in mind. And I think that's a super, super big thing to keep in mind at the end of the day. So from a battery life perspective, the S24 FE definitely kind of wins. From a performance side though, the iPhone 15 I think is the winner here. You're getting the Apple A17 chip, you're getting the Apple A16 Bionic chip inside of the iPhone 15 with 6 gigs of RAM, where the Samsung Galaxy S24 FE Exynos 2400E chipset with 8 gigs of RAM. And I would probably say from this type of perspective, if you're going to go through and get a phone, it is really, really nice having a phone like the S24 FE that's basically going to be giving you 120 hertz. It's going to make things feel fast and smooth and all that stuff. But I would probably say with something like the iPhone 15, this is a very fast performing phone too. That's a device that you can basically pick up and have a very good, very fast performing device for the most part. And I do think that's a very nice thing going on for this type of phone. So I would probably say from a performance side, both phones will be able to handle a lot of things you throw at it. There's not really too many issues. But if you are wanting the device that's going to be the better one for the average everyday person, it probably is, here and there, probably going to be something like an iPhone 15 from a performance side kind of, but from the internal, from the external, chipsets, but from the display side, the S24 FE might be the better one here and there. So overall, to kind of sum up this whole entire video, what I'd probably tell you is that both of these phones I think are very solid options. They're both very good devices. I like them a lot. But if I'm going to go through and pick up a device, it probably is going to be something like a, iPhone 15. I feel like that might be the better device for some people out there. Like it makes some, it makes a little bit more sense here and there. But I would probably say with something like the Samsung Galaxy S24 FE, I like having a phone like that because that is going to be a very good looking device. And it's going to look very good and sharp for many, many years now, right? That phone is going to be very performance heavy. And I do think that's a very nice thing going on for that type of device. With the S24 FE, I think this is a very good phone. But because of some of the things like with that Exynos chipset, I think it's a good phone. But I do think the Samsung Galaxy S24 FE is probably, good in a different way compared to the iPhone 15. So that's kind of how both these phones kind of compare. If you have any other thoughts or questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that'll mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.